Hey, everybody, all you amazing humans out there. Welcome to the Reality Coach podcast brought to you by I Am Somebody. And as you all know, I am your wonderful host, Jennifer Bulbrook. And today, as you know, I've been doing something a little different and I've been getting coached by various amazing coaches so that you guys can have a real idea of what coaching is, the different styles out there. And so if you really are thinking about getting coached, you have a variety to choose from. And so today I have the amazing Dr. Jill Foreman with me today. You are a coach, and I'm going to let you take it away and introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. So I am a coach and a psychologist. I've been a psychologist since 1997, so a really long time. And I've done a lot of therapy as a therapist, and I've had a lot of therapy, and therapy is great. It works, it's necessary, it's helpful. And I still do that. I work as a psychologist currently in Texas. But I also, a few years ago, found life coaching and didn't really know that much about it. I had heard of it, but I experienced it as a client and realized that it's something different. It's different from therapy, and it's a great complement to therapy. So I've been a client of individual coaching, group coaching, decided that this was something that I wanted to add. And so got certified about a year ago, and now I do both. So I work as a therapist and a coach.
I love it. That's awesome. Do you want to maybe give the viewers a quick um, rundown on what the difference between therapy and coaching is?
Sure. Yeah. And I think that there can be a lot of overlap. Um, I will say that therapy is definitely what's needed for somebody that is having difficulty functioning and experiencing certain types of problems, like really actively working through a trauma, depression to the extent that someone is maybe having some suicidal thoughts or having trouble functioning, um, you know, really severe panic attacks, anything that is kind of interfering with daily life that is really more appropriate for therapy. And one way that we think about therapy is that it's to help people who are having problems kind of get to the point where they're functioning. And then coaching can be to help people who are functioning improve their lives in really just about any way you can think of. So coaching can really help with anything that doesn't need therapy. And I wish I could be more specific. I think you can find therapy that's kind of more like coaching. You can find coaching that's more like therapy, but therapists are operating under a license. They're licensed by their state. And so there are ethical guidelines, there are considerations that are a little bit different from coaches who can work with anyone anywhere. So I think that the relationship is different. I think the relationship in coaching can be more collaborative. It can be less sort of doctor patient, if you will. Not that all therapists are like that, but and many therapists do focus on very specific tools, very specific goals, but some don't. And I think with coaching, the understanding is that you're going to be working on a specific goal. You're going to be collaborating to try to help someone achieve something that they have not been able to achieve. And I know that the coaching I do, the coaching you do, uses a lot of thought work and really teaching people about their brains and how that's affecting what's going on, giving a lot of very specific tools. And again, you may find that in therapy, but you're going to get that in coaching. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's like
Good.
the perfect answer. Okay, so just one more question before we get started. Who
Sure.
do you serve? Do you serve men, women, kids, adults, all the whole nine shebang? Do you deal with all problems, geared to just one couple problems?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I work with adults. I don't work with children or adolescents. I am a general life coach in that for coaching, as well as in psychology, I see everything, any problem that doesn't need therapy. But there are a couple of areas that I really enjoy. One is working with people who have had therapy and didn't quite get everything they wanted or needed from it. Or people who maybe tried it and it just wasn't for them, or, they thought about it, but it just doesn't seem like the right fit. So I think that for people who have had therapy and done some work in that area, and maybe they understand their childhood and it's helped, but they want a bit more, I think coaching can be a really great follow-up to that. And that's how it was for me. I got a lot out of therapy, and then I found that then adding coaching on top of it really kind of was the missing piece. So that's one area that I really like. Another area that I like is to work with women who have been chronically dieting, shift from trying to focus on weight loss and dieting to solving the problems that cause them to overeat. So this is could be a whole nother podcast, but I think a lot of women were socialized to focus on our weight and our bodies and looking a certain way. And I think women can end up devoting their whole lives to that if they don't really become aware of it. And so I try to focus on something different. And so that is something that is specific to women, typically women kind of midlife who've been, kind of on that yo-yo for a long time.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. Great. Now I even have a little idea, like what do I want to talk about with me, because I have tried the therapy and I've done the therapy, and I've always felt coaching, I got so much more out of coaching than I did with the therapy. And then I also could talk about like my yo-yoing of relationship with food, which has been more of under the wraps type of, I haven't really talked about it at all with anybody. Not even like in therapy or really, I think, in coaching. So I probably would like to go the route of talking about my diet and my I don't want to say my weight issues because I don't feel like I have weight issues, but my relationship with food and how have always been very I don't want to say I've been picky with my food or how much I eat, but I feel like I won't eat all day because I know at night I tend to eat a lot of junk. And so I'm trying to match out not eating all day and eating all night. And then things like that I do with my diet. I eat a lot of sugar and not the healthiest foods for me, where I want to eat the healthier foods and I don't eat really lunch. I don't eat breakfast. I'll eat dinner, but sometimes I'll even skip that. And it's because I'm thinking like I don't want to gain the weight, or I want to look a certain way. So then I don't end up eating a lot of times. And then again, I go back to, well, I'm just going to pig out tonight. So I need to keep it like balanced.
Right.
And this is something that's been going on, I think, for the longest time. Even like when I was younger and like in grade 8, I remember going to the store and like getting like diet pills and being that person who throughout my whole life eating a bunch of diet pills and it not working, trying other ones, and then like not really eating for like a long periods of time, like even like a couple days, and then I would just binge eat. And it was like always kind of a yo-yo effect of like different things that I would try and do, and nothing really ever stuck except for this. I go on long periods of not eating, just eat junk. And like there's times where I won't eat for even for a few days, all I'll eat is just junk. And then I realized like, oh, I haven't put nothing good in my body. And I've been working out for a couple of years, and I'm comparing myself to people because I'm like, I should be there, but I'm not because my diet is like crap. Yeah. I want to be able to get my diet and not my worry about my weight. I want that not to be such a focus of mine.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing I would say to you is all of this is so normal and common for women in our culture, in our society, I'm sure in Canada as well as the US, that we are really socialized to be focused on this from a really young age. And depriving does lead to binging. You know, we kind of know that. That's a fact that when we go on diets or we deprive ourselves, most people will make up for it later. And then I think maybe one of the biggest problems is the shame or the guilt or the self-loathing even that can come from what you do end up eating. You know, when it is junk, like you mentioned, you'll be comparing yourself to other people and thinking that you should be better. That is that's where it gets us. That's where it can be really painful. But it sounds like what you're saying is you don't really worry about your weight. It's more how you're eating, and you know, what is it that you feel like you're trying to change?
I don't really worry about my weight because I've
Uh-huh.
never really been a big person.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I guess I shouldn't say I don't worry about my weight because I am doing all this because I don't want to be big. And people
Mm-hmm.
will always say, like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you not eating that? Or why do you do that? Why do you walk all the time? It's like, because I don't want to get big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I tell people, like, why don't you drive? Like, because then I would not walk and then I get big.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Mm-hmm.
I do worry about my weight, and that's probably one thing that I don't want to do is get big, and I don't want to rely on food to be my next like addiction that's on
Mm-hmm.
the list that
Mm-hmm.
I worry about that.
Okay. So it sounds like at this point you're just kind of aware
Yeah.
that this is how you're handling it right now, just kind of not eating for long periods of time and then eating a lot of junk, but you're able to maintain with that pattern. But you don't want it to be an issue. You don't want it to be an addiction or, yeah. Well, so it sounds like what you're doing right now in some ways is working for you, right? You're maintaining,
Yeah.
you're where you want to be. So what tell me what the problem that you're having is.
I guess it's because I'm not really where I want to be. I want to be like more toned in that. Like I work
Hmm.
out and I have like a goal of what I want to look like. And I
Hmm.
feel like I could get there if I would just get my diet under control and not
Hmm.
eat all the junk and not and like it would help with my energy too, I think, if I actually would eat some meals. um
Hmm.
where right now I feel like I'm tired a lot and my
Okay.
energy level is like kaput. It takes me a lot
Uh-huh.
to get working out, and then once I'm done working out, it's like I could sleep for 6 hours, and sometimes I even do because
Hmm.
I eat junk. I'll even go upstairs after I work out and sometimes I eat a chocolate bar. And then it's
Hmm.
like, I feel like those days, that's when I'm napping a lot. Like, that's when it's like, I find I end up crashing in the afternoon. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like there's this part of you that thinks, well, it would be good to eat meals. Maybe that would be good for me. So why don't you?
um, I think it's because there's some days I don't, because I tell myself that I'm just gonna end up taking out later. And so then I just don't eat anything. And then when I do go out and just like grab something like a chocolate bar after I will go, I'm thinking it's quick. I don't have the time to make anything.
Hmm. Okay. So that's why that's why you grab the chocolate bar after the workout.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the issue is more that you don't eat during the day.
Yeah.
And you said one thought you have is I'm just going to end up pigging out later.
Yeah.
Is that
I
one thing
feel
that
like
comes
I've
up?
tried, though I even like tested out my theory
Uh-huh.
as like if I eat during the day, will that prevent me from pigging out at night?
Uh-huh.
And I actually would eat a little bit at night during the day and I still was eating just as much at night. And
Okay.
so I worried that if I continue that pattern, then eating all day and night, then I'm going to be
Right.
bloated.
Okay. So is it like you believe that you're going to pig out at night no matter what? That's something that's just always going to happen?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't eat during the day because you figure if I'm going to pig out at night, I better not eat during the day
Yeah.
or I'll be big.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think's going on with pigging out at night?
Um, I think I've always just, I don't want to say always, but at night I just relate it to watching TV and eating chocolate and that. And I have this habit of even waking up in the middle of the night and eating a lot of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just became a habit or it's boredom at some time, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it something that you don't want to do?
I would like to be able to eat maybe one chocolate bar and be good.
Okay.
You know, maybe even like eat some grapes or something.
Mm-hmm.
But very limit the junk intake, like the chocolate
Mm-hmm.
bars, because there's times where I can eat like anywhere from 3 to 6 in one
Mm-hmm.
night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you would like to be able to eat just one,
Yeah,
um, but it's eating a lot more than that.
yeah.
Um, and I want to throw in right now, I'm guessing this is probably hard to talk about. You mentioned that you haven't really talked about this, and I want to just throw in there that I really appreciate that you're talking about this and that it probably is really hard because we tend to have a lot of discomfort talking about what we actually are eating, especially if it's not what we think we should be doing. So just want to say, wow, and good for you for opening up about this, especially in this kind of a format.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird because I'm very open about like other things in my life. Like I
Hmm.
had a drinking problem and
Right.
drugs and everything. But when it comes to this, for some reason, I've just never felt, I don't know, not that I didn't want to share it. I just felt, I don't know if it was shame or what it was, but
Hmm.
just felt like it was something I needed to keep to myself.
Yeah. So I want to check in with you. How are you feeling right now?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
um, and I don't know, I feel kind of sad. Um,
Sad. Did you say sad?
yeah.
Okay.
Or I don't know if maybe it's even sad. I just feel like, yeah, kind of sad, lonely
Hmm.
for some
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned shame, which I think is so common again, especially around eating. So yeah. So are you, and you're a coach, we've all worked at these things. How do you feel you are in terms of having self-compassion when you notice yourself feeling shame and sad and uncomfortable? And how are you with taking care of yourself?
I think a lot of times I try to just not feel it. I tell myself to feel it quickly and then move on. Like it has
Mm-hmm.
like once I feel it, then it shouldn't come up and I shouldn't feel it again. Like it's, check mark, it's done, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that's working very well.
Yeah. But again, we also know that we're not really taught how to feel. That's just again part of our culture, part of our society is, we don't really value learning to process our feelings and identify them. And it is really common to just push them away, move on, maybe feel it a little bit, and then move on to something else. And one thing we know is that eating junk helps with that. Um, eating chocolate, eating something that helps us get a little dopamine hit really does help with help feel better when we feel bad. So usually, well, always, I think, eating chocolate, whatever it is, typically we're trying to help ourselves somehow. We're trying to give ourselves something that we need. And so that's why I was kind of asking about, what you think about how you are eating now. If it really is something that you feel like really truly isn't working. And if it is something that you feel like is a problem.
Yeah, and I think I'm torn with that because I feel like in a way it works because I've been able to maintain my weight. Like I'm not
Mhm.
going up in weight. But at the same time, I feel like the energy isn't there and my focus and stuff isn't there. And I feel like I'd feel better if I'd eat like more nutritious foods that they tell you to eat,
Mhm.
besides the sugar.
Okay.
And I don't like having to worry every time I think about food. I think about like, is this gonna make me fat? Is this, like, do I have to eat one less chocolate bar at night if I eat this? Like, I have
Yeah.
all this like mumbo jumbo happening every time I go to like pick something up and eat it, or like
Mhm.
even buy it at the grocery store. It's like, do I need this? Like, and I look at the ingredients and then I hum and haw about it, and
Yeah.
it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, and you're so right. I think that worrying and obsessing about food, it does. It takes up a huge amount of time and energy. And that's what happens with yo-yo dieting. And I think that part of you, I think, is trying to protect yourself from that. Like, I don't want to get into having to constantly worry about if is eating during the day going to mess with what I have going on that's working for me. But I think it's good that you're aware of this feeling of being torn about whether it's something you want to change.
Yeah, and I don't even think I realized I was torn. I think I was just like, no, like I do want to change it, and I just can't. Didn't really realize how torn I was until I've been talking to you.
Yeah. Well, I think when we're torn, maybe it's because there's something about it that is working or helping. Even if we don't really like the consequences, there's something about it that we would have to give up to change it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And I
yeah.
think a part of that too is like at night, it's like me eating all that junk. It's like comforting.
Hmm.
Um, like even when like I'm around somebody, like it's still, I feel lonely at times, depending on like
Hmm.
the situation. That so there's times where I just feel like it's comforting and it's takes away that loneliness.
Yeah. Right. Well, so then it's helping in some ways. I think that's important to recognize that in a way, it's you trying to take care of yourself, trying to help yourself with that loneliness, trying to comfort yourself. And so, of course, you would be torn about giving that up.
Yeah, I think I'm torn about giving it up, but I feel like I won't. Like I don't know, or maybe I'm just telling myself I really want to give it up. That's what I've been telling myself.
Uh huh. Well, I wonder if there's some should in there, like I should eat differently than I do.
Yeah, I definitely have you know, eat your breakfast, dinner, lunch, dinner, and like there's a way people are supposed to eat. There's a healthier way to eat. I do have a lot of those kind of beliefs just
Hmm.
from growing up and just, seeing on TV and so forth. It's just there's a right way to eat and a wrong way to eat.
Right. Absolutely. We
Yeah.
all have those beliefs, I think. Definitely. But you also mentioned that there's some comparing. You compare yourself. Is that to how others eat or how they look or
Kind of both. I'll compare myself, like if I see somebody and especially if I know they just started working out or they just started a diet or something, and then like I heard about it and all of a sudden I see them and I'm like, holy shit, I can see it. I
Mhm.
completely compare myself to them, the way they look. And then I start to think like, what the hell are they doing? Like, oh, if I would just eat properly, and I just assume that they're doing all these things. And then I say, I should just
Oh,
be doing all those things.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you assume you may not even know what they're doing. You
Yeah.
just
I
you just
majority of the time don't.
that is so interesting.
Yeah.
And this is when you see someone that has lost weight or has transformed somehow.
Yeah, in really any way possible, whether it's they've lost weight or they look toned, or if I notice it, then it's like I have this story in my head that they've been working out, they got on a good diet, they've stuck to it, and sometimes I even put in a trainer in there, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So your brain makes up this whole story
yeah,
about what they've done, even if you don't know.
yeah,
All these things, they've worked out, they've gotten on a good diet, they've stuck with it.
yeah,
Maybe they've gotten a trainer, and then you compare yourself to that.
yeah.
And what do you think about yourself?
When I do that,
Yeah, when you're comparing and when you're thinking about all these things you're doing.
I feel like a failure. I
Mhm.
feel like I can't get it right. Um, it's like one more thing that I feel like I failed at.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's tiring because I'm dealing with it for so
Yeah.
long. And it's like, why can't I just get it right?
Yeah. So what are you not getting right?
I guess I've had this goal of how I wanted to look in that for so long, and I've never accomplished it.
Okay.
And I've even I've changed my goal, but I'm still have never accomplished it.
Okay. So you have this goal and you've never accomplished it. Have you accomplished anything? I mean,
This
have
is
you made any progress toward this goal?
Yeah, I feel like I have, but yeah, I believe I have because I do lift heavier and I take less breaks.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess looking at like me, my arms in a certain way, I can tell that I work out.
Uh-huh.
So I've made some progress, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you don't look like the goal, you're a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have these thoughts around, why can't I just get it right? I've never gotten it right. I've never gotten there. I'm a failure. Yeah. So this may sound like a silly question, but why do you have this goal of how you want to look?
Um, I guess because I think it looks good and I want to look good and I want to prove to myself I can do it. And I feel like, not that I don't think I don't look good now, but I think I'd be really, really happy with how I looked if I reached my goal.
Okay. You think you'd be happy with how you look if you reached your goal. Okay. And that's a really common thought, right? And yet somehow, I wonder if having this goal, um, do you feel like it's a good thing for you? I mean, do you feel like it creates positive for you? It sounds like it creates some negatives, some comparisons, some feelings of being like a failure. Um, do you feel like it has some positives for you?
I think it does because it helps me stay on track with my workouts. and
Okay.
it gives me something to look forward to. So I think there is some positives, and it does help me in some way to
Hmm.
have this goal.
Hmm.
It's just when it's not in my brain working out the way I want it to at that time, then it's not so positive.
Right, right. Well, and it sounds like, I wonder if this goal is part of why you have all these comparing thoughts when you see someone else change. Um, you make all these assumptions about what they're doing that you're not doing. And then the result is you end up feeling like this failure. When did you set this goal?
Um, the one where I really want to be toned in that, probably about,
Well, you said the way you want to look. There's a specific way you want to look.
yeah, um, like 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Because before I had a specific way I wanted to look. It was just thin. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't so much where now I really want to look like, it's not that I want to be all thin. I want to look toned, muscular, not complete muscular, but I have this picture in my head. And
Uh-huh.
so that one's been there for probably about 3 years now.
Okay. And you said before that you had a goal, you just wanted to be thin.
Yeah,
Did you feel like you reached that goal?
no, no. I felt like I was always missing it by like a hair or something.
Uh-huh.
Um, I wouldn't say that I was fat, but I never was the way I would picture myself, the way I want to be.
Okay. So what happened to that goal? Do you still have it or did you change it or?
I changed it because I thought and realized that I like the more muscular tone look better than the thin look.
Okay. And do you think you really genuinely believed that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just what your preference for yourself is actually did change.
yeah,
Yeah. But it sounds like there's still in your mind, your goal, the way you want to look and how you actually look now and the comparing both to your ideal and to when you see someone else that looks the way you want to look. Um, and that it's a tricky thing about goals because on the one hand, we want to be able to set our mind to things and make changes that we want to make, right? We want to be able to say this is what I want for myself and work toward it and feel like we can do that. And like you said, there's positives in it. It keeps you on track, it helps you follow through, it motivates you. But then sometimes we kind of use our goals against ourselves in terms of what does it mean when we're not there yet?
yeah,
Or what does it mean if someone else looks the way we think we should? If that
yeah,
means that we're a failure, then the goal can kind of have a downside.
yeah. I guess I want to be able to have the goal without the shame and the comparing of others. I want to
Yeah,
be accepting of like where I'm at.
right.
And I don't think that I am because I'm so busy comparing myself to others.
Yeah. Well, so that sounds like a new goal, though, that you just set. I'd like to be able to keep the goal, but without the shaming and comparing.
Yeah.
Like maybe keep the good things about the goal,
Mm.
but maybe you don't have to do this comparing and shaming.
Yeah.
So do you think that's, first of all, do you think that's possible? Does that seem even
Yeah, that is like, I want to say it seems possible, but I know I've been doing it for so long that I don't know if it would just be possible off the bat of
Oh,
me.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's possible to a certain degree.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I always just like to sort of get kind of a feel for, we're talking about this as a possible new goal. And, in terms of what your brain is doing right now, does that even seem within the realm of, possibility? Or does it seem like, yeah, whatever? I mean, that's a nice pipe dream, but it would never work for me. But it sounds like you're not there, but you can kind of see it.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see like it being that way sometime. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, let's not right this second kind of
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
Well, I think that the first step always is awareness. And it sounds like through this conversation, you've become more aware of the kinds of thoughts that you're having. I know we started talking about food, but we've kind of, I think the food is kind of connected to the goal, right? And what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to maintain. And if we had more time, we need to wrap up, but if we had more time, we could do some specific thought work around when you see someone else and you feel like you're a failure, you probably don't do things that help you work towards your goal. Right.
Yeah.
So that's another good reason to try to sort of tweak how you are approaching the goal, because the shame and the guilt and the comparing is probably less likely to get you to your goal. Right. So
Yeah.
it feels bad, and it probably is less likely to get you to your goal. So what you might take away from this is just trying to be more aware and noticing, maybe especially the next time you see somebody who's made a change and you notice yourself comparing, kind of notice what your brain does with that and how it affects you. Does it help you get to your goal, or does it make you feel worse?
Yeah. Even as you say that, I can like, I feel like shame. And it's because I like
Mm,
when I look at them, I feel shame of, because I know that I'm not eating the food that I'm putting in my body isn't really helping me with where I want to be. And so then I
mm-hmm,
have shame about that and I feel
mm-hmm,
jealous. So
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And again, I want you to know that these feelings are so common for women around weight and body and eating. And I guess another thing that I think has been so interesting today is that you've known that your brain is creating a story for you about these other people. In reality, you have no idea what they're eating or what they're doing, or if anything about how they're achieving their goal is healthy. That's
Yeah.
all your own, coming from your own brain and your own story, and we all have them.
Yeah. And it's funny, like I know that, but it didn't really like click in until you said that to me. Like it's like I don't know. Like I
Hmm.
just even though I know I didn't know,
Yeah.
my brain was telling me I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't know that they're eating healthy. You don't know that they're doing everything the right way.
Thank
So
you. That was very helpful. I appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah. You're so welcome. Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for anybody listening out there, I will put Dr. Jill Foreman's information in the show notes so you can contact her if you do you offer free consults
I do.
or
Yeah.
okay, so if you wanted a free consult or just have a question or need anything, I will send them your way. There will be the click of a button within the show notes as well.
Great. Well, thank you for doing this. Like I said, I really admire you for being vulnerable like this and talking about these things and allowing me to work with you on it. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for, agreeing to do this. I know it's
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day.
You too. You're so welcome.
Awesome. Bye. Have a good one. And goodbye, all you lovely people out there listening and watching. Have a good one. Bye.